It's time for another Sissy bar. If you saw the video where I made my new king and queen seat, you might remember me saying, I will need to do some modifications to my Sissy bar because I changed the locations of the mounting points. But instead of modifying this Sissy bar, I thought I would just make a new one. And one of the main reasons behind that decision is that I have got myself a new tool. This compact bender. I just need to mount it to the floor and then we can get bending. Yeah! My first bends are done and they actually look pretty good. Before I continue with this top bend right here, I think we should have a quick chat about my new compact bender. It's pretty awesome and it makes it way easier to do repeatable bends, and the bends do look really good. But if you're only bending stuff every now and then, I'm not really sure if it's worth the investment. These benders aren't that expensive, and for the price you pay for them, you get a really nice tool. But it's very much possible to get by with just a steel pipe and a bench vise. I'm living proof of that. That's the way I've been bending stuff up until now. But every now and then you just have to treat yourself to a nice new tool. Am I right? On the top part of the Sissy bar, I want to have a wider radius. And to get that, I will use this enormous die. Well, that didn't really turn out the way I was expecting. I was hoping for a nice wide bend, but instead I ended up with this. But I think it proves an important point with tools like these. Just because you acquire the tools doesn't guarantee you get a perfect result. Operating tools like these does require a certain amount of skill, and the only way to acquire skill is to practice. But I think I already have a solution. This is the last remaining part of my first ever attempt at making a Sissy bar. And if I chop this up, I think it will work perfectly. But before I do that, I will have to find a way to mount this to my fender. And that is when I realized I had turned the mounting plates the wrong way around. It can be quite tough to recover from a mistake like that. Your initial instinct might be to just give up. But what if we see this as an opportunity? An opportunity to practice our ability to turn a failure into a feature. And I actually think I managed to do just that. This little twist actually looks quite cool. And I guess it can serve as a symbol of all the twists and turns you have to go through when you are making stuff yourself. I think I'm ready to tackle the top part now. I think it's safe to say that making something that is symmetrical is really hard. When I finally got the top piece in place, I managed to cut the other side too short. So I had to weld in a little shim. It doesn't look super beautiful, but I think some more welding and grinding will fix it. I have made this cardboard template of the backrest, and I marked out the mounting screws. Now I need to find a way to connect those mounting points to the rest of the Sissy bar. And since I like to make my life harder than necessary, I want to do something special with it. I've actually been looking at old church windows, so I will try to make a design inspired by those. I think it could look really cool. With the mounting point sorted, I went ahead and made these support bars off camera. It's basically the same principle as for the legs, just some good old heavy metal engineering. And of course they include this little twist, because that is now a feature. Now it's time for even more welding and a little bit of grinding. The welding and grinding is moving along quite nicely, but I have run into a problem. Let me show you. Can you see this gap right here? It doesn't really look great. And the way to get rid of that would be to add another mounting point right here. And that wouldn't be a problem if it wasn't for the fact that my mounting points are actually welded into place from the backside. And there's no way I'm taking the seat apart. But there are actually a solution. It's called a rivet nut. It works the same way as a pop rivet does. It goes in blindly. In other words, you don't need to have access to the backside of the piece that you are attaching it to. The big difference compared to a pop rivet is that the rivet nut actually has threads. You can thread a fastener into it. And that's exactly what we need right here. In order to attach them, you need a special rivet nut tool, and I was actually looking for one of those when I made the seat. But I had a hard time finding one that works on steel. Most of them only works on aluminum. But as it turns out, my friends at Vevor actually makes 2 different rivet nut tools, and both of them works on steel, and they offered to send me one. Let's check it out. Let's see, instruction manual, the tool itself, a bunch of rivet nuts, and a whole row of mandrels. And that is what we use to attach the rivet nut using the tool. The first thing you need to do is drill a hole. And since I'm using an M6 nut, I need a 9mm hole. And this is the most nerve-wracking part, especially if you're drilling into a seat that you spend a couple of hours making. Next we need to attach the correct mandrel. And you do that by unscrewing the nose piece and sleeve nut. This is the actual mandrel. Finding the correct one is super easy. It's clearly labeled on the box. And they're also color coded. That's a really nice touch. First we place the mandrel in this little groove. It actually only goes in one way. Then we put back the sleeve nut, and lastly the nose piece. We then extend the legs fully, and when we do that, the mandrel actually extends. And that allows us to screw on the rivet nut. We want to screw it all the way down. And now it's time to insert it into the hole we drilled. When it's inserted all the way down, we pull the legs together. We don't have to pull them all the way in, just until they get stiff. Now we can unscrew the mandrel. And we're done. That actually looks really professional, way better than my welding nuts. And if you want to pick up one of these tools for yourself, I will have a link to it down in the description, together with a little discount code for you. Well, with that problem out of the way, I think I'm back on welding and grinding duty. You know what? I'm done. I've been spending the last few hours running back and forward between the welder and the grinder, and I'm finally ready to see this thing on the bike. And since this is just raw steel, if I feel the need to polish it some more, it's just a matter of pulling it off and continue where I left off. The Sissy bar is done, and even though it's not perfect, I think it's way better than the old one. And I learned a ton while making it. And before I get to work on cleaning up this bench, I thought I would quickly go through exactly what I learned. First of all, making symmetrical things is really hard, but also fun and well worth it in the end. We also learned that a compact bender is a really cool tool to have, but not strictly necessary. But one tool that kind of is the rivet nut tool. Those rivet nuts just look so good. Let's see what else. Yeah, right. Turning a failure into a feature. It's actually possible, and it might even turn out better than you planned in the first place. And the last thing we learned is that you are awesome for watching this video, and you should probably check out this video next, and I will see you later. Bye!